All right, we are live. Are you ready to rock, Seth?
Ready to rock. Let's do it.
All right. So, welcome everybody, and hopefully some more people will drop in over time. We spammed the internet with this live stream, so let's see. Anyways, so for today, we actually want to redo a talk that I did in Barcelona last week, where we are showing Uniform and how you can kind of cable manage your architecture, but with Nuxt 3 and really bleeding edge technology. Because why not? Right? So, Seth, what are you thinking? Will we have any mistakes? Will things break? Like, this is like proper bleeding edge alpha stuff. What do you think?
I think today's the day where everything's going to go perfect.
Oh, it's one of those days where it's all aligned, right?
Yep. Yep.
Oh boy, I cannot wait. Well, let's see, right? Let me just share my screen and then we'll start with a bit of story, which is not too long. We'll get to coding quick, but I just want to go over some basics so we're all on the same page. All right, so let me just add this to the screen, and there we go. And so I Googled Jamstack to make this talk, right? And then I found this product. And Seth, we're both musicians, right? So when you see a product like this, what do you think?
I think gimmick.
Oh yeah, I cannot imagine this is any good.
No.
Like for the people who don't know what this is actually when you play electric guitar, but you don't plug it into an amplifier. It kind of doesn't have much sound to it. It's all there's no echo chamber in the body. It's just a
Hmm.
wood, so there's not much sound. And so you can kind of plug this thing in and then put your phone there and do something with some effects and then put your headphones in. I can just not imagine this is any good.
Yeah.
But who knows? There might be a market. At least it gave me a ton of images for this talk. So
Yeah.
maybe that's all we need. All right. So what I want to talk about today, to get started at least, is the future of composable architectures. As in, let's have a look at when you go forward and you're going to scale and you have all these headless tools. How do you actually manage that in a nice way where not just tech people live in it, but everybody, right? From
Yep.
developers to marketers to whoever. And so at Uniform, we have a nice solution for this. So it's a nice way to demo. And so on top of that, I want to kind of show you in whatever flavor you like your Jamstack, how Nuxt 3 will be able to actually deal with all of these flavors in a really,
Mm.
really cool way. And this is where the bleeding edge part starts because we actually have alpha packages for Uniform and Nuxt. We're using Edge workers at Cloudflare and Edge at Netlify, which is all kind of like, is it done? We don't know, but we'll go for it kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But I like that.
Trying to get it as
So
close to the user as we can
exactly. And look, this is yet another iteration of the Jamstack, which
with the
looks a
same
little less
name,
nice.
same company.
Yeah. So
I'm
just
I'm
another
seeing some
design.
copyright infringement happening here. It looks like.
Yeah, I think this is probably the same company, but anyways. So basically, you will we in like let's talk about the new technologies we're all using, right? We're all on the architecture level at least, all doing this headless stuff. And there's actually a little dilemma going on in this new world where we all think, hey, this is awesome. We now get to choose as developers. There's actually some stuff going on because when you're building a tech stack from a headless product, it doesn't actually mean that you end up with like a proper, nicely composed architecture. Actually, using headless products gives you the potential of them being like connected in a nice way, but they really are not when you get started, right? And so when you work hard at trying to make your ecosystem of tools into something, you are actually a composer. You are the composer of your own work here, right? And so basically, it's really hard to integrate things in a nice way. And so when you want to compose things together, it requires this integration to be super easy and lightweight and loosely
Mm.
coupled. But the hardest thing to do is make an easy integration. And so it's just challenging to get all this stuff there. And a lot of projects now from now until like next year are going to be like this.
Mm.
We're going to just put stuff together and see what works, because you kind of start with what you know and like, okay, how do I now connect these two systems together? Well, let's make an integration field or do it in the front end, right? And so as a developer, when this grows, you're going to be like hovering around fire all the time. And
Yes.
so because you select your own selection of tools, all the stuff that you love, right? Headless CMS, headless commerce, whatever front end, DAM system, anything. And then
Hmm.
so it is from multiple vendors. So it's already much better than the monolithical systems we had, let's say, a few years ago. But you interconnect them all, and you can now no longer take one out, right? So generally what people do nowadays, it looks like this. The CMS is in the center, and you plug a whole bunch of things to it. And then you interconnect the crap out of them to make sure that something happens on the website and content editors can actually do something. Because how do they hop from your commerce to your personalization to your DAM, right? But you cannot just remove one thing now, because imagine you have 4 CMS instances, which a lot of bigger companies have. Are all these things then also connected to all 4 of them? And if you want to
Yeah.
change one thing, it's basically impossible,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, it's kind of a shitty situation that a lot of people don't know they're gonna go towards just
Yeah.
yet.
It's hard to see that when you first start, but then a year later, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah, and what you have effectively done is now you have now created your own version of WordPress, but then with different systems, or your own version of whatever monolith we want to throw at this, right? But now
Sure.
you cannot point the finger at a company. Now you have actually done it yourself. That's just kind of silly. And so what you are actually doing is you're doing all this lovely Lego, and you're just gluing all the pieces together. You
Yeah.
can no longer use that Lego. It becomes a
Hmm.
nice statue, but that's what it is. You can actually
Hmm.
not reuse anything of this. All right. So what we do want is something like this. You actually want to choose your own tools from these multiple vendors, also connect them, but still in a way that you can remove something or add something, right? So here on the right side, you see how we do it, at least what I think is a better approach, where you have all these systems not around the CMS, but all on their own. And they're all connected to like an orchestration layer for content editors, no code like stuff. But they're also all connected to some form of unified API layer that just gets their data, maps their data, and then sends it to the front end. Because if you want to add like another CMS here, why not? You just add another one, or you just have to change the one line, right? And the whole system still works. This is what we want. And in a second, when we start coding, we're actually going to do this. Oh,
Yeah.
we actually have Prismic in the house. Hello, Prismic. What is up? I should say that we have a really cool integration with Prismic for both personalization and our Canvas integration. And I wish I had the demo with Prismic for today, but I don't.
Hmm.
Next time,
Next
I
time.
promise.
Next time.
So
Yep.
thanks for joining, anyways. So basically, this is what we're going to be building in code in a second. And now that we have Prismic on the line, it's going to be very interesting for them to see. Well, now I see it. It's Lucy actually on the Prismic account, and she just made a little woo woo. But it's all good. So Lucy, you'll see the code here for what we have done in Nuxt 3. It looks quite a bit like how you might code that yourself. And then we have Daniel in the house from Nuxt. So now we better do it, right? So let's continue
Yep.
talking and see when I start coding if we actually get this thing. So we want this, right? Rather than the other messy thing, because now you can just follow, okay, well, the number, you plug it in anywhere else, right?
Yep.
So we haven't actually talked about that whole Jamstack thing. And for the French people around, they'll know what this is, because Bon Maman is like one of the nicest jams we have here. Well,
Hmm.
it's like on the shelf, but it's good. And it
Yeah.
took me a while to Photoshop this a long time ago. I think I Photoshopped this like 3 years ago now. You can see that jam is still with capitals. Anyways,
Yep.
let's talk about how Jamstack fits. And yet another amazing Jamstack picture that I found. So let's talk about the future a little bit and what that looks like, and if it's still Jamstack at all. I don't know, right? But I think whatever comes out of this, especially when using Nuxt and Edge, it's going to be purely magical. It's already so cool,
It feels like
right?
it. Yep.
And so Jamstack still really fits because all these things we're putting together, they're all API first, right? They all have their own little CDN. There's no center point at all. And so all the magic that you would be building happens on the CDN in whatever form that might be. And so there is not one server anymore that has all the knowledge and then renders a view and dispatches information. And because of these things, even though Jamstack is changing a little of whatever it may be next month, that paradigm fits really well with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So especially with Nuxt 3 now, most of the spectrum items are completely covered, right? So you can basically choose a rendering mode that you like. You can go fully static.
Mm-hmm.
You can do some hybrid static with like some SSR and then some static. We'll show these variations in a sec. And of course, you also have edge side rendering, and we also have a few variations of that one. So I won't go too long about this, but we can do all these kind of flavors, right? And so what we like to do is on the left side, you have this kind of no-code interface we call Canvas, and you can plug in all your headless sources. And there's Prismic for you. So they are, in fact, Lucy, I have
Yes.
you in here. And so you can choose all these sources, build a composition, and then you have a platform preview thing that we've built with WebSockets, and then you push it to your CDN. So this is more on the content editor side of things. And then for developers, you can query that no-code composition and then use our middleware, or however you want to call it. We call it enhancers. You can grab that stuff, map the data, and then push it to Nuxt, and then go to the CDN. And so that means whatever source you plug in, you map the data slightly differently. And I'm going to show off that in a sec in the code. Right. So
Super
you go to
flexible.
the, sorry, go on.
So it's super flexible.
It's almost too flexible, and that's sometimes very interesting. Like, how do you sell this thing when you can do anything you want, right? But you can, and that's why we just made this Nuxt 3 thing that runs on Edge Compute, and it's just fine. So, are you ready to see me burn while I try this? Let me just have a sip of water.
Classic meme.
Well, when I did this last week at the conference, it all went well up until I had to use Dino and Netlify, and it just said no.
Yep.
Turns out it was an error, as these things are always, right? So before actually coding something, not everybody has seen this. Some of the people watching might have. Basically, this is our dashboard. And we have a few, and this is the Fugees Road Trip Barcelona talk that I'm doing. So this was like from last week. And so we have a few integrations running here already. And so today we're only going to be using, would be nice if it loads, there it is, BigCommerce and Contentful, but it could have just as easily been Prismic, Cloudinary. Like we have a whole boys. We even have Sitecore Order Cloud. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a new one.
Well, they're becoming composable, right? So if they are, we can just integrate. And so basically, in Uniform, you have Canvas, and in that you have compositions. And so compositions are basically an empty canvas in which you can paint with components that you configure. And these components actually show whatever source you are pointing to inside these components.
Can you show those components real quick?
Yeah, sure. So let me just quickly go to the component library. Yeah. And so here I have really simple project, right? So I have a hero component, a page component, that's the composition, and the product. And so the hero component actually has a parameter. Yes, if it loads, there we go. My 4G is torturing me at the moment. Here we go. So basically, the hero component has an entry parameter, which is in fact connected to my Contentful conference hero content type.
Yep.
So how that works, I'll show you in a sec. But first, let's see what actually, right now I just added one title, right? Let's see what this looks like. So I can just hit preview. And now this is what's running on my local host. You can see I exported preview. This is actually a Nuxt 3 app. So let's put these two side by side.
Got it. And you set up the front end to show the JSON there, right? That's part of the
yes,
markup.
So what I've built, this is like a little app. And on the left side, you see the state of this composition. Yep. And on the right side, you actually see your front end components and whatever it comes.
But normally it would just be the page, but you happen to have the markup is the actual JSON.
Yeah, so I literally made a component in Vue or a Nuxt component that shows this just because I just want to see it. Because it's we're going to go through step by step how to morph that data so components end up on the right side.
Yep.
And so we've now turned on preview mode with Nuxt 3, which works extremely well. You can see the little lightning mark here on the right top. It's a
Mhm.
little small in the stream. But like if I now just say Vue.js and hit save here, when it's saved, there it is, Vue.js road trip. And so this directly updated. And if you are now running, let's say on Netlify or wherever in production, you can also set that up. And then you can basically just with your production code see preview. It's quite similar to how Prismic actually solves this stuff.
Sure.
And so, well, let's keep this. And how about we just add a component? Let's add a hero component. And so here, let me select developers. And let's hit save once this is connected.
Yeah, and let's go one step back. When you hit add a component, you can control what components can go there.
Exactly. Yes,
right?
you can. Yes.
So next time you add a component, yeah, hit the plus again, and let's just see. So you can kind of, there you go. So like as a developer, you can set up parameters where your content creators, they'll be led down the path they need to be down.
Exactly, because what we use, if you know Vue.js, you know the thing we call slots, right? So we have the concept of slots as well in Uniform. So this is the component slot, and this is the products slot. And you can kind of, in this page component, which is a composition, you can actually say, okay, in the component slot, only these components fit, and in the product slot, only these. So you have a little bit of governance. And as you can see, I've also added the personalization component here. We'll use that after. And so what's actually pretty interesting here is that we don't want to actually store any data other than compositional data. So we can actually add a variant here because that's based on your composition. So the fact that this is a variant should be reflected in your front end, but has nothing to do with what is in your CMS, because your CMS is just domain data, right?
Yeah, CMS is just data, and this composition allows you to control the look of it.
Exactly. So we are not a CMS, but we do store compositional data. And I just wanted to say that. So when you have a look at what we actually store, it's just this right now, right? This is my composition. I have a slot for components with a hero component with an entry ID with variant meow. And of course, the title on the global component. That's exactly what you see here, but then I just made it nice black and green.
Sure.
So you didn't see anything coming here right now. So let's actually go to my code. Let's see, how will I do that? Yes, that's number one. That's number two. So this is a Nuxt 3 project. And there's actually really not much to it. Of course, Nuxt 3 is completely like you don't need to add any configuration to get started. So I've had to add a few things. So there's a bit more here on the left in whatever files we have, but it's still really clean. So we added a bit of styling just to make sure that we have the left and the right box, right, on the front end. And so we have a uniform dev Nuxt module. And this is fully fancy, modern, works with Nuxt 3. And so here we add a whole bunch of environment variables directly into the module because we want to be able to talk to uniform. And we're also adding some runtime config stuff for later on in the enhancers when we change the data. These are all read only, so these are quite safe in here. However, we did need to transpile some stuff due to some ESM includes, especially with some older packages here. We literally just released a new version of our Nuxt module where you don't have to do this anymore.
Cool.
So we've either resolved the issues or we've just transpiled it internally, so you don't have to care.
Sure.
Which is just nice quality of life, right? You shouldn't want to, like, I have a few things, like when I want to do a Jamstack site, I have to do this because the Contentful package is still not updated. Anyways, so we have a page for multiple slugs, right? Whatever slug you have that just catches here.
Sure.
And wow, I just had an error here. Let's not look at that for a second.
Let's see.
Let's just continue. Let's say it just works. So basically here, you see a few things that are commented out. So let's keep them commented out. That's for later on when we build this up. And so we have our use composition from the use Nuxt app. So this is the uniform composable from the module in Nuxt. And so what we can do, and this just comes back with a suspense. So you can also have pending and error in here for now, because this is such a small demo, we don't care. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the composition for a slug. And currently it looks at the params of the route and just queries that slug. Let's have a look. And when we go back to the browser, the slug currently is just /.
Yep.
And so we're just querying / at the moment. And so what I've done for now is I just, from that composition, grab the title, and that's just the page title now here. And I make the composition computed because I get a specific value from that composition. And this is just the data part of things. And then here, that's the JSON viewer, where we just show the composition itself. And then here we have a composition component that comes from the Nuxt module.
And just to review, the JSON viewer, it can be seen in the composition.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're doing it now just for demo purposes in the front end.
Yeah, because normally, of course, you don't have this. This is literally just to show you the state of whatever just came out of this thing.
And show it again in the composition. Show where you find that data in the drop down.
Oh yeah, sure. So that's literally this.
Yep.
However, I can see now there's no slots here. So there was some error just now. Didn't we see that? So let's have a look. I don't know what happened there. It's just restarted.
Yeah, let's turn it off and turn it on again. Let's do that first.
Yeah, that's always the way to fix it. You see, it fixed it. I don't know why. I'm happy now. I probably changed something in the config or something. It's all fine. So basically, let's quickly continue. So we have this composition component, and you give it the composition. And what this thing does, it's basically like a provide inject. It does some magic to that composition and then injects it into whatever comes in here. And in this instance, it doesn't look like much, right? It's literally just the title that we render here in the browser, this one. But we will want to use that a little bit more later. How about I just start uncommenting something? So we start to show some components. Let's start with this one. So basically, what this is doing here, so this is still the same composition component, but we're showing a little bit more. So let's first have a look what you see on the screen now. So you can see there's a little bit more happening. On the left side, it's still the same. It's still just the ID. So we haven't actually enriched that enhancer or that component, but a component started to show, right? So we have a slot for products. We have a slot for components, which are basically represented on the left here, right? Components and products. And there's actually a component called hero with the variant meow, which we just selected here on the left. And it still doesn't show much. So let's have a look at that component. And also then let's talk about how it actually managed to be on the screen here. So first of all, I'm just using field sets for everything because it's just easy to see what's happening on the screen with that.
Sure.
And so first of all, to be able to render a component, we have something we call slot content, which is one of our components from Uniform, which is quite close to a slot in Uniform, or sorry, a slot in Vue. And so also the name.
Didn't that it used to be slot though, right?
Well, basically, if you want to do a slot in Vue, you just do it like this.
No, but I mean, like in Uniform, it used to be slot because slot content looks new to me.
Well, in React, it's called slot. But
okay,
in
there you
Vue,
go.
You cannot use the word slot because it's stated.
Of course, yeah.
That's why.
Okay.
So basically, what this component does, there's a bit of magic going on here because it just looks at whatever is injected by composition or provided, and it just filters out, okay, I need to show here products, and here I need to show components. And basically, it dynamically creates the component and injects it with Vue. And the way it knows what component to use is here we have something called a resolve renderer, which is just literally a list of components. So let's just show these quickly. So we call this the component mapping. And here I'm just importing my hero and my product component. And I map them. And if it exists, return it. That's all it does. And we know that Nuxt actually does this out of the box as well. It auto-resolves all these components. However, if you do that, and Daniel, you might correct me if I'm wrong here later, you cannot really do tree shaking. It just imports all of them, even if you don't use them. And it might be smarter now than it used to be, but we felt like let's just give multiple options here. Because if you look at this resolve renderer, if there's a product or a component that doesn't exist, it actually shows you the default not implemented component that comes from our npm package, right? So if I now make a new component in uniform that's called blah blah, and I don't have a blah blah component mapped here, it will just show you, hey, this wasn't implemented. These are the props that are sent, which is quite nice.
That's nice. Yeah, then you can go back and implement it.
Exactly. And so let's have a look at that hero component, right? So basically, because we have TypeScript, we set it as, okay, this is a component instance from uniform. And these are the props that come in as the component, and it has a bunch of data in it. You can see I've actually started to make a computed prop for the image and the title. However, that data is not there yet. Like if you look here in the screen, it's still only, my source is the default, which is the default space you get from
Contentful.
and this is the entry ID.
Yep. And this
look
goes
at
back
Daniel.
to like
Daniel is actually helping us. So if you enable global components, they are bundle split. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to have to look at that. Thanks, Daniel.
And so this entry ID is because uniform is not storing any data from the CMS.
Exactly. It's just
getting the ID, and then you're going to show how to go query that and then change that data to what you need.
Yes, and I think it's about time we start doing that. So because we want to actually show more in here. So how about we leave products for what they are for a second, and let's just make sure that this stuff here becomes something real, so this image and title start showing. So basically, I have something here. I made a use enhance composable. So let's just go like that. And just save and see if it works. Oh, something started to happen. So that went pretty fast. I love how fast this all works. It's super great. So anyways, now like we haven't seen that code yet, but what happened is when I turned that on, suddenly that ID and this type default was gone. And now the value became fields with an image with a lot of metadata and some other stuff like a title and a whole bunch of stuff that Contentful gives you back. If we were to have Prismic or another system, some different type of data would come back. And so that is now shown in the field, but there's still no image. There's still no title, nothing, because my component doesn't understand this kind of crazy structure.
Yeah.
You don't want to build components that are specific to, let's say, an output from Contentful, right? So let's have a look.
Yeah, because let's talk about that real quick. Because if you do that, you're locked in to specific data structure that Contentful returns, and you don't want that. You want to be able to switch your CMS at some point and have the component still work.
Yeah, I always say just keep your component stupid, right?
Yeah,
just have a title and an image tag and keep it simple. Of course, in this demo, it's extremely simple, but that's just to illustrate. So let's talk about how we use the use enhance component here, or the composable. Here it is. Again, a whole bunch of things are actually commented out. And so what we're doing here is you're giving this composition to the enhancer. We actually mutate that composition based on enhancers that you give it. So Enhancer Builder is a really smart piece of software that looks at all the parameter types that are given to it, and then you can provide code that does something with that data. And so right now, the normal Contentful Enhancer gets this entry ID and returns all this JSON from Contentful. And so let me just go there for a second. So this is the Contentful Enhancer itself. And the way we do this, we allow you as a developer to query Contentful the way you like. We just give you a little bit of helpers, right? So I'm literally calling the Contentful package from NPM, and I basically get a space ID and a delivery API key from the runtime config from Vue or from Nuxt. And I just create the client that you would normally use to query Contentful, and this I give to a function that Uniform gives you. So we create an enhancer with the information that you give it. So if you have like 5 Contentful spaces and a preview one and a production one, you can give that list to a client list here, and then we can do stuff with that. And we see like there's an extra feature here, like I don't want you to batch query, because sometimes that goes wrong. If you query 16 things at the same time, it's sometimes handy, sometimes it's not. So you can kind of configure how we query. And if you wanted to even change the default query to also get like some metadata, you can do that here too. And this literally returns. And this function that we have with your client information just queries Contentful, gets you the information. It's kind of a wrapper around the API. And there is a bunch of smartness built in that, like the batching and the caching and a bunch of things. You can see here, I added an adapter to the client, which is a whole bunch of stuff. And I only did that because the Contentful package doesn't work on the edge with certain different edge providers. It just doesn't work due to an Axios issue. However, that's not a problem because we just worked around it. Anyways, we are not on the edge yet, right? We are local. This all works. However, we don't want this data. We want to map it. And that's when we get, like, I'm just going to comment out. Otherwise, it's just too much writing for me. I'm so bad at typing. So basically now, this is an interesting one, by the way. Every time I change something in this Composables folder here, it returns me a 404. I refresh. And magic. So if Daniel's still watching, please help me. We kept having this. This is the only issue we had now. The rest, everything is perfect. So you suddenly see a title and an image of course, little old Steve. And that we made that happen because of the following, right? So we can actually compose with enhancers. And what that means is the first enhancer from Contentful queries the stuff. The second enhancer gets that result, and you can do something with that result. And in my case, that's actually a really simple thing that I want to do.
So you can filter out the data you want. You can only, just control it.
And so basically, what I wanted, like, this is very similar to, if you know Nuxt 3 a little bit, when you use fetch or use async data, you have a pick and a transform. Those are options in your query where you can change the data. This is very similar to that, but then on like a lower level before it even goes to React, or sorry, to Next or to Nuxt.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I'm done. Next, React, everything. Basically, there's a few things you get back when you pipe another composition and another enhancer. And so right now, I literally grab fields from that value that we had before, right? And from fields, I just grab title and image, and I just return it as directly title and directly image. You can see I even go in here, like deep. This is not the best code, but this is great to just show you the demo. And so what that returns now is it goes from that huge object we just saw to something returned in title and image, which worked really well because now suddenly there's a title and an image, and now our value is title image. That's it. All right. So we've now done a whole bunch of things with data, and suddenly my component is dumb. It doesn't know anything, but the data is matched and it just works. So if I now changed my CMS, the only thing I'd have to change is the enhancer for that CMS, and everything starts working. But now this kind of,
and then not only change it, but like create another one. So it's like you've got.
Oh yeah, you can just make another one, and you can have 2 CMSs in one component, or 15. Like we have a demo where we have like 15 CMSs for one component. You can switch them out and it just works, which is really fun.
Yeah.
It's not usable, but it's fun. Anyways, what I've built now kind of looks like a big ass wrapper around Contentful, right? But we have more. So let's just add, how about we add another hero from view, and we don't add a variant this time. Let's hit save. And let's also add a product. And this is now connected to BigCommerce.
Yep.
And this is my own BigCommerce example. So I have some fake products. Let's do Nuxt. Let's hit save as well. And so what we've seen now here is that users or content editors don't need to know the systems at all. You literally just select something from system A, Contentful in this case, and now we just selected a product, and that just worked.
This is an example, like the front-end developer or the developer sets this up. right? And then they provide the tools to the no code teammates, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and you don't really need to understand too much, but you can, if you want, you can literally just click edit, go to Contentful, do your business.
Yeah.
Right? And that also makes it really strong.
Yeah.
This takes a while to load, but here we go.
But like
here.
the dependency on developer has kind of been removed, because it's, as a team, you work out what you need.
Yeah.
And then at any point, the non-developers can build and select different sources and stuff without having to go to a developer.
Exactly. And that's what's get really interesting, right? So let's just go back to what we have. So here we have the developers one, and here's a few developers with a very serious cat. And that just worked really well, right? Because now that we have this really relatively easy preview stuff, this works. It's nice to make that happen directly with WebSockets. But we now added a product, but we haven't done the enhancing yet. So it literally just gives me, this is your product ID in BigCommerce. There's nothing else here. So let's go back to our code and let's have a quick look at how that would work. So use enhance. And so now I actually have this bad boy. Oh, what that was. Not like that. I need to remove this one. So I changed something in my enhancer, Composable, and now I have this. I don't know. When I reload it, it goes through SSR, and now it works. So it's a pretty interesting thing going on here. So what I've done now is actually I added the BigCommerce enhancer, which is very similar to the one we just saw for the CMS. Right? We just loaded. There's a slightly different way to load the fields in BigCommerce, so that's how you do that. And so now there's a whole bunch of data with the image, right? But we just want title, image, and price in this case. And so the title and the price are working, but the image not yet, because it's such a different structure. And so for that, of course, you feel it coming, right? We compose the Composable, we compose with the enhancer.
Clean it up.
Let's see. Again, the 404, but now refresh. And there is the image and the title and the price, because we just mapped it to a much simpler thing, right? So name, description, price, image. I'm not even showing description, but it's really a simple way to just map it, right? I do the same thing. From the value, I get these fields, and I just return only what I want. Like in this case, I don't have to return description and ID, actually. I don't need them. Again, I touch the Composable. And there you go. And so now this is, again, price, image, title. So it's really simple. This all is pretty cool, in my opinion. It works pretty well. How about we do something a little bit more scary and on the edge? I'm sorry, I'm getting some text messages. Okay, clear. Sorry. How about we actually push all of this stuff to the Cloudflare edge with edge functions? And so, because right now, this just renders in SSR now and hydrates later on the front end locally. But I kind of want to do all this stuff in SSR fully, because why not? Maybe in this case, in the end, a Jamstack approach is easier and better. But how about for now we do that? And I think I can literally just go like this. Let's make this big. I think I have to do yarn build. So what I'm doing with this build is I'm actually setting the preset in Nitro to Cloudflare, and then I'm building. So now it's basically just creating all that stuff. And now what we can do is use Wrangler to literally just publish this. This works.
Can you talk a little bit more about Wrangler? Tell me about Wrangler.
So Wrangler is basically a really good CLI tool from Cloudflare that allows you to publish pages and things and deploy serverless functions and a whole bunch of cool things. So
it's Cloudflare CLI.
Yeah, and you can see that just happened, and we just got a URL. Right? There you go. So it's empty, but it's working. And I know why it's empty, because this is literally directly querying. And we are now not in preview mode in React, or in, why do I keep saying React? This is weird.
Well,
We are
Nuxt
not
is
in
new.
preview mode
These packages
in,
are new, right? I mean, you've been working with Nuxt for so long.
oh yeah, I'm all over the place. Anyways, we are in preview mode. You're not in preview mode, so it only queries our published composition, but we never published this. We only
Gotcha. Yep.
saved it. So let's publish it. And now query it again. And there it is. And so
Daniel says he's hearing every instance of React.
oh, I'm so sorry, Daniel. And this is probably the first time that's ever happening to me. I am like full force in the Vue world. Like I haven't touched React. I don't know. Like I tried when React just came out and I said, meh, back to jQuery at that point. And then I didn't touch React until maybe somewhere this year where I had to just have to learn it.
Yeah.
Right. And now somehow I just looked at a React project for something. So I'm just
because you're in Vue all the time.
I'm a Vue mode.
Jam.
Oh yeah.
That's your jam. Yeah.
Oh look, I'm gonna put this one on the screen. I'm gonna keep that one in my pocket.
Yeah.
Anyways, what you see here is the magic of the Nuxt 3 Nitro engine. I almost had nothing to do. I literally said Nitro preset Cloudflare build and then publish. And my Wrangler file there's not much to it, right? Oh, let's just go here. It's literally just an account ID, whatever to output and run. Yep. It's that simple.
Yep.
And so what comes out here is basically rendered with SSR, and it's really freaking fast. And what this is doing, it's querying uniform, then it's querying Contentful, then it's querying BigCommerce, and then it's pushing it here. So there's a lot of things going on without cache that actually make this work pretty well. So if you wanted, to do SSR with the new Nuxt on the edge, and so this is probably an edge close to me, probably this is in Paris. That's why this works so well. Imagine if we now actually start building in some caching here. This is going to be amazing because you can just be dynamic. And so is this still Jamstack? I don't know. Maybe. How about we dive back into here and we go to a different flavor of Edge? Because what I want to do now is add a whole bunch of personalization to this, show you how that works locally, and then we're going to push that to Netlify's Edge. And I'm not even sure if it's probably in beta now, but I don't even know. It's really new. And it's actually, they chose to run it with Dino because it's such a fast JavaScript runtime, right? And so what I want to do is actually run the whole thing completely statically. So it's a Jamstack site, but the personalization should go through the Edge handler. So it's really fast because, without me telling too much, let's just add some personalization in here and see how it all reacts. We have to turn back on our system. Yep, we're good to go. And so now what I'll do, I will actually go back here and I've actually set up a personalized version already because that's lots of clicking. So let's just delete this bad boy. We don't need it for now. And then we go, is it deleting? I think it is. There you go. And then just change this slug. So it's now looking at a personalized version. So let's just make this a bit bigger and have a look what's actually happening here. Okay, so we've saved this. So when we go to personalization, what I've done is kept it really, really simple. I've set up 2 signals. And a signal is basically an action a user does, and it signals a certain action. And based on that action, you can actually do a whole bunch of personalization, right? And this one is super simple. So when you actually give the signal that you're more into Vue or more into React, it it scores a certain amount of points against that signal. And the one with the highest points is what we show as personalization.
And is this a
There's
query string right now? Like what's clicking to
currently,
React
I've set
developers?
it up as a query string, exactly.
Yeah.
So UTM is usually used for those marketing campaigns, right? So when you set up an interest that equals view in the URL, so you go to a Twitter, you click on the Twitter link, and personalization happens because you are actively choosing, okay, my interest is actually view, right? Or my interest is React. And so it gives a signal to Uniform's tracker that says, hey, this person is interested in view. And as you can see, there's a lot of options. Like you can say, hey, I went to a certain page a few times. I scrolled by something. There's a bunch of things. And in here, there's much more. Like you can actually set up intents to kind of figure out what people's goals are on the website through these signals that they're giving.
Yeah.
Or you can use something similar called audiences. You can literally put somebody in a bucket of Vue or React based on these signals. And there's a few more, like enrichments is basically a more granular version of all these things where, let's say, all the colors of your t-shirts that you're selling, you can put in here. And so it's nice for categorization. And then based on these signals that you give, and let's say you click on a blue hoodie, suddenly we're going to show you more hoodies and more blue because of these enrichments. And then we have quirks. Like I'm going over this really fast because I don't think we're going to have time to talk about everything.
Sure.
Quirks are really cool. They're basically key value pairs that are set when the page loads, and then personalization happens based on them. So this can be your location in the world.
Yeah.
Or this can be, this person has used Vue and bought something. And so we just set that up. Or this person works at that company, or they bought this previously. And based on that, personalization happens. For now, I kept it really simple. It's literally you have a query string about Vue or React. And so in our system here, it becomes really easy now to personalize on this. Right? So you have Vue developers here. And I've now actually set it up for Vue developers. The signal is Vue and the score is higher than 60 or higher or the same than 60. Then you go to React developers. Score is 50 or higher and nothing if you don't have any personalization at all. Default, yes. And then for products, same thing, right? So Nuxt 101 for Vue developers, some sample thing for React, and another product for nothing. Let's see if that shows up. There you go. So let's actually have a look at this. I think it's already running.
Yeah, so this is our extension here. This is a
Let's
extension
go
we
into that
built.
for a sec.
Yeah.
So what I want to show you is basically the default stuff. So I just refreshed, so we're here. You can see on the left that there's now a personalization type slot. You can see that's added here. And so when you have no actions at all, you have the core web vitals consulting, which is this product here. You see nothing connected.
Yeah.
And then here you have the developers without Vue or React, because there's nothing attached to that here. Right? And so basically for React, I've selected a different hero, and for Vue, another hero. So how about we just add, let's actually hit publish. So this keeps working. And we also stay in preview mode, so it's just easier. So we can actually say UTM interest equals React. And now it's reloading. Oh, it went back to preview mode because I hit enter here. So basically, it now found the fact that we are in React mode. And so it selected the product for React and the React developers component here. And so we can use our little tool to actually see that we now have a dimension set up. A signal was given for 50 for React developers, and the one for Vue hasn't been touched yet. So how about we make this Vue? Now when we make it Vue, this just became Vue.
Yeah, because that'll be 60. That'll be 60.
Because I put it to 60, so it's a higher score. So this one is now more important. And if I just remove this, these scores are maintained, right? So this now on hydration time that just worked. And so now,
if you did React again, it would be what, 100, and then it would.
Oh, let's try.
Over.
Let's try. It depends on how I've set it up. I'm not sure if I set it up that way. Let's refresh it again. So no, I don't think I've set it up in the right way now. What we can do though is say, let's just clear this. And then it goes back. And you see, this is done on hydration time, which is totally fine for this, because now when you start clicking around, and Nuxt made this into a single page app, even though it's statically rendered because subsequent clicks, on hydration time, you can do this personalization really, really easily. However, if you would do this stuff and push this to, let's say, a website somewhere, and somebody with a cheap device on a slow internet connection goes to your website, and you want to show some personalization, if it's all on hydration time, it depends on loading the Nuxt bundle, which is very small now, let's be honest, but still, it has to load some JavaScript, has to load some Vue, and then it actually has to load our tracker, which is also relatively big. Well, it's not that big, but it's all JavaScript. It all has to be.
You gotta load it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what you see is that you actually get a flicker. We don't want that. What we actually want is use the edge with Nitro and Nuxt to pre-render your personalization based on the actions you've given before. So how about we push this now to the Netlify edge using Nuxt 3 and actually using Dino? How about that? Let's try.
Cool.
So this one is a little scary. It has gone wrong on me before. And I know what I have to do is this. The moment I render a statically generated website with Nuxt 3, the Contentful package starts to complain in a certain context. So I have to transpile it. But in SSR, it now gives issues as well if I leave it like this. So there's kind of a weird thing. If I now push this to Wrangler, the process would fail.
Yes.
If I do this, it goes to Wrangler fine to Cloudflare. So there's some stuff there that they have to work on. But when we just fix this, now I have a Netlify file here. So let's just do Netlify build.
Yep.
Team. No.
Okay, could not find the site ID. Put you on Netlify link.
Yeah, I never did it on this project on this computer. Let me see. Okay. Let's see now. Maybe it just knows, and otherwise we just have to link it to a project. That's not a problem. Okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
Let's link it. Okay, so
I mean, let's just comment on how awesome CLIs are. You know?
Oh, this is so easy. Okay, let's choose a list of my projects. There it is. This is the one.
There you go.
I think it's just going to work now. If this works, props to Netlify. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so you can see the output type is now edge here. And now we do Nuxt generate. So we're making a fully static website. You can see the fetch entry variable. This comes from Contentful. So we just built this. And now we can do Netlify deploy for production. Okay. It could be that we get yet another white screen because I'm not sure if I've published the composition.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so we just received this URL here. So open the link. Okay, so something did go wrong. Always, like, I knew this one is just complicated. So it did publish. Maybe we might have to hit publish here. And I also see that we only published 3 assets, and before it was 4. So what could be is that here. So I have my Dino file. How about let's run it again.
Yep.
Kind of strange that it only does the 3 files, because before it did the 4. Let's say. Yeah, so Daniel is saying that maybe we need to do Nitro preset Netlify. I wonder if that's what it is, and otherwise we can ask our colleague Elias, who actually built this thing.
Yeah.
Because I had this running like yesterday, it was fine. Okay, so now it's 5 files, but it's uploading 0 assets. Okay, I'm not sure this is going to happen. Interesting. So our middleware is here. And where's my build? Maybe this is, let me just quickly, on my laptop, I had it working. Let's have a look. Maybe there's just a little difference.
Well, Daniel says just set the nitro preset variable, I think.
Okay, so let's see, yarn generate edge. Let's see what we had there, because yarn generate edge. Okay, so you want to put this to Netlify then?
Netlify yarn build and Netlify deploy.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I want to do is actually have this not SSR'd, but static. So the edge thing that we're adding there is basically our own edge, because we have some proprietary stuff going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But how about we just do this and see what it does? We actually don't want SSR. We use our own kind of edge thing that then will stream in some stuff in a static site. So you see, this actually now is building it properly in SSR. And probably when I do this now, we're just going to get SSR and Netlify, which is cool on its own. I just don't know if that will work. Let's see. No. Okay. This is odd. This literally worked a while ago, but this is how bleeding edge this is.
Sure.
When I was working on this with Elias, it also sometimes just decided to say no. So I can quickly look in my laptop to see if I can make it work there. And if so, I'll just share my laptop screen.
Sure. Well, Daniel's saying the output type doesn't do anything.
Well, output type is local to us. It's a uniform thing. Okay. Like if you look at our Nuxt config, here we have an output type for uniform Nuxt for edge or other things. So we have something our own. So let me just here. Okay. Well, I can show you. Let me just run those same things here. Yarn, no, Netlify. Build. If this works, I'm just going to join my screen to our StreamYard, and then we're going to have a look.
Yeah.
Because if this works, we're good to go. But then it would be nice if I knew why.
Yep.
Deploy. Let's see. And otherwise, something has changed in between with versions or something. It could be that Netlify just did an update.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think this is actually working now.
There you go.
Okay. This is really weird. So, however, it's not really showing everything. Oh, this is very interesting. Okay, I'm going to join my laptop screen to this, and then I'm just going to show it.
Yep.
This is part of the fun, right?
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. It's a jam session.
Oh, it feels like it. And this also felt a little bit like that when at the Vue.js conference where we had this, because it was just a little strange. All right, so can I share my screen? Oh no! Now it says to Chrome, "Are you allowed to share the screen?" It's one of those moments. I will do it. Let's see. Is there something entertaining you might want to show people? That maybe you can go into a bit of that personalization stuff.
I could sing a song. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that works. Up to you. I will be there in a sec, however.
Oh, it's no problem, man. This is part of it. This is good. Yeah. I actually think this is pretty cool. How
we're literally just on the bleeding edge trying to make this work, right?
Yeah, we'll quickly jump over and deploy it from your laptop, and then now it's just a case of
what's the difference. Crazy.
Alex, When is Nuxt 5?
Oh, look at the inception. It's perfect. All right. So
yeah.
What I might need to do is have a look at my code here, because this could be that it's like, oh yeah, I know. Like I have this code locally here as well, and obviously, like my use enhance is still commented out. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly do this, and it's gonna be awesome. I promise. This is the way we do streams. We actually fix things on the fly.
Yep. So you got your Contentful, your BigCommerce enhancers,
and in here
cleaners.
I'm gonna need this bad boy.
Your resolve render to render the right component.
Yep. I'm gonna just comment this one out, turn this one on, and I think now it should do it. Let's do a quick test.
There we go.
All right. So
clear that. Yep.
Okay. Personalization is working as well. Okay. Netlify build. Okay. I have laptop battery, by the way. That's good to know. Oh, no. Oh, I know. Welcome to ESM. Wait, we can fix it. No.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, here it goes. Daniel, I promise it's gonna work. I promise. Because we want to see Nitro working actually on Netlify, don't we? Here it goes. By the way, have you guys seen Warp as
there we go.
Oh, wait, before I say anything, let's just see if it works. Yes. Okay. Okay. So what we see here now is actually completely statically rendered, but personalization goes through the edge functions of Netlify on Nuxt 3. And so let's turn off JavaScript without, so there's, oh wait, there is personalization happening already. How about, okay, we clear everything. You're a new visitor, and let's turn off JavaScript. And of course, on the left side, by the way. Sorry?
I like that plugin. I like that turn off JavaScript.
Yeah, because I do it all the time. So it's nice. And so basically on the left end now, you don't see that JSON thing because that's actually a client-side JavaScript thing to show you the JSON. So without JavaScript, this is now loaded, right? So let's turn back on JavaScript, and then it comes back. So how about, let's say we are an interest for React. Go through the same thing. Did you see how fast that rendered, by the way?
Yeah.
Because this is basically Jamstack and the personalization thing. So this component here and this component here below were rendered through the edge. So let's turn off JavaScript, and we know we have this interest, right? Turn it off, and it still works. If I then remove this now, there it is. So through the edge, it now knows that I had this action or signal that I gave, and personalization works. And like the ridiculous speed of this is insane. Let's see if I have a network tab here somewhere. So basically, this is 72 milliseconds while I'm streaming on the countryside with 4G.
Yep.
That's just insane.
It's pretty awesome.
For a personalized page. And so we can actually also now say, okay, let's just do a view then. And so now this became view, turn off my JavaScript, and view is there. And so, yeah, this is just, the performance of this is just ridiculous. And now when I remove this, it still works. And so what I love about what we're showing here is the combination of doing a Jamstack site and dynamically personalizing it over an edge. Because then if you have a slow device, it already works with personalization from the server that was rendered for you, and then you hydrate. And then that hydration is kind of fine because the personalized content has been shown already, and so it doesn't flicker. And the beauty is now that when you now go to the next page, all the bundles have been loaded, and now JavaScript can take over and do it on hydration time again. But then when you go to another page and refresh your page, just works. And so now this is like a new page, and it's completely personalized, and there it is. Like the slowness that you seem to think that this is actually JavaScript rendering the JSON view.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If I didn't have that JSON view, you wouldn't even see how fast this is. That's how fast. We need to start adding, animations for page changes for this.
Yeah.
And so, this is just an extra lovely thing that you can put on top of your uniform orchestration, right, with all these headers and things, because this actually comes from BigCommerce, and this comes from Contentful, right? And so you have this whole cool thing, and then on top you put the personalization, and then whatever flavor you want is now running on the edge, and then you have this magic. And so this is not really the stream where we dive in and fully explain how that all works, because probably part of that is proprietary, but another part is just that it's hard to explain, and we don't have that time for now. So I think for the moment, this is what I wanted to show. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. So Seth, had you seen this before, doing this on Netlify or not?
Yes, I have seen it through a couple of internal demos and just some of your talks.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you think you would
We
use
should mention
this?
our Discord server, actually, right?
Oh, yes. I have a slide for that. How about that?
There you go.
I'll just go back to that. So this became a lovely improvised stream, but that's part of the game.
That's it, man.
So here you can see on the left, this is actually our Discord. So you can put your phone there and go to Discord, or just type uniform.to/Discord. And actually the one on the right, the uniform.to/BCN Barcelona, gets you the code of this whole demo. So you can actually fiddle around. And of course, you can also go to docs.uniform.app, where we have a full Nuxt 3 tutorial that gives you all of this stuff. And you can actually
do you have speaking engagements already lined up for this kind of presentation again?
I do, actually. I am speaking at Composability conference in the end of this month. And then I'm speaking at JavaScript Global Summit the month after. And then I'm secretly hoping a few conferences. But I cannot really say much about that because nothing is set in stone just yet.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be like going hard at all the Nuxt 3 stuff, because I'm so excited about it, how fast it is, and almost no issues anymore. Like it used to be a little bit that you're like, why doesn't it work? But now it just works. Yeah. So good stuff here.
Yes, great stuff.
So we're in for about an hour, 10 minutes. Is there anything you still wanted to discuss, Seth?
No, man, we'll save it for the next one.
How about that? Next time you demo it. I'm ready for that. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Yeah, been a pleasure. See you.